Hi, I'm Jarrett with PennFuture, and I'm here with Secretary of the Department of Environmental Protection, Kathleen McGinty, on the eve of her resignation from the department. And we're here to talk about her remarkable tenure and to look back and look ahead and see where Katie's future plans lie. Katie, hello. We were disappointed to hear this, but you know, we've got your best interests at heart, and you know, we're hoping the best for you in the future, but we wanted to take a little bit of a trip down memory lane here and talk about, you know, the remarkable tenure that you've had. PennFuture's motto, as you know, is every environmental victory grows the economy. And when you came to Harrisburg, we found a person who already was on that page. Before you came, I think there was an attitude in this town that it was either the environment or the economy. And your tenure has absolutely demonstrated that that's not the case.
Isn't that the big idea?
Yes.
That is the big idea. And I think in challenges in life that you face, they're either big or small, and it actually has nothing to do with the challenge. It has to do with your attitude in coming to that challenge. If you're going to come to it thinking it's a hair shirt deal and it's all about bad news, well, you're likely to take even the smallest challenge and blow it up into something that seems insurmountable. But the opposite is true too. And when you come with a can-do, and our future depends on it, and will grow and will be better, my goodness, the creativity that you can unleash on people, the positive spirit, that to me, that big idea, and the energy that's been unleashed is the most rewarding. And I think by contrary example, at the national level, we've seen the opposite. And we've seen division and polarization and a consumer and citizen confidence level that is so low because the choices were presented so differently as choices about enemies and choices about danger as opposed to choices about opportunity, future, and partnership. And that's what we've done together.
That is what we've done together. Oh, we at PennFuture have been privileged to work shoulder to shoulder with you in tackling the biggest environmental issues of the last several years. And let's talk about a couple of those. Let's start with the Alternative Energy Portfolio Standards Act and how we got to where we were and that idea.
Sure. So that shows, I think, two pieces of the coin. You know, there's nothing wrong with conventional environmental regulations and conventional environmental approaches. They're absolutely an essential piece of the equation. And so when we think about air pollution in Pennsylvania, you have to be willing to do two things. One is to put those conventional tools to work. So fast forwarding to another challenge we surmounted, when it comes to something like a neurotoxin like mercury, you have to clamp down. You use those tools that are entrusted to government to protect public safety and well-being. But you and I know that the challenge is bigger than any toolkit full of just old conventional tools will be able to solve. And so you have to say, look, how can we build an economy that is inherently sustainable instead of just endlessly chasing after an economy that's inherently unsustainable? That's where the portfolio standard comes in, because instead of just putting filters and scrubbers and old types of approaches on old, dirty plants, let's build new, let's build clean, and let's build renewable. The numbers now speak for themselves. With our partnership, the governor's leadership, and the legislature's support, we have a law that has spurred $1 billion plus new investment in our economy. And last count, which is about a year old, 3,000 new jobs created. So we're on the path to a clean economy instead of just running out of steam trying to catch up with a dirty economy.
Now let's fast forward to some of those challenges that at first might have seemed insurmountable. The mercury regulation was an idea that we put out there with a lot of hope, but we were prepared for a fight, and I think we got it. And at the same time, we got the Clean Vehicle program enacted, and they sort of ran on a tandem track, which was an amazing parallel campaign. And it was a lot of controversy. How did you deal with that and meet that?
Well, I think you could point to those two examples, and someone hearing us might say, well, look, are those issues the exception to the rule that the two of you are sharing, that in every environmental challenge there is an economic opportunity? The point is a different one, and it does have to do, I think, with integrity and leadership, and that is both the Mercury rule and the Pennsylvania Clean Vehicles rules are perfect examples of economic opportunity to be found in tough environmental standards. Why? In Mercury, well, first, it should go without saying that our greatest economic asset is our children.
Yes.
And children who are physically or mentally handicapped are not children living fully to their potential. And Mercury is part of the story as to whether those children will be fully healthy, fully happy, and fully productive or not. But even beyond that, and not to get too much into the details of the chemistry, but the rule that we fashioned is one that is very respectful to the point of view of our coal companies in Pennsylvania and our utilities who are the customers of those coal companies. Why? Because when you mandate scrubbers and you say, no, the pollution has to be stopped at its source, you can't buy your way out of a pollution reduction requirement, it does benefit the type of coal that we have. We have coal with more mercury in it than competitor coal, but it is a kind of coal that cleans up better in a scrubbed power plant. So when we ordered those scrubbers that stop pollution at its source, it was a benefit to the coal companies. Now, we can rest, I think, on the confidence and satisfaction that we were true to the motto that we both have talked about here. The difference is others decide they want the entire cake as opposed to just their rightful and needed slice of it. And I think that's when you have to stand up and you have to say you were heard, your needs were respected in this process, but even though your voice is very loud, you cannot drown out the voice of others with legitimate needs and the common interest that needs to be heard as well. Same with the Pennsylvania Clean Vehicles rule. And there's an even simpler equation. We can either meet clean air standards by fully imposing the burden of ratcheting down pollution on employers, factories, power plants in our state, or we can look to those mobile sources of pollution to make a contribution to clean up their act. Those mobile sources, namely cars, are made outside our state. Our rule says, Detroit, clean up your act. Send Pennsylvanians first-class vehicles, not the stuff other states don't want. People decided they wanted to be ideological, and they had great slogans. Oh, we're not going to cede our sovereignty to California. But they were slogans, there was no substance. And it's another example, I think, when you've done the job of listening respectfully and fashion policy that does reflect the needs of all constituencies, then you need to just go forward and try your best, let the chips fall wherever they may, and I'm just thrilled on both of those rules that the leadership more extensively in Pennsylvania, as led by PennFuture and the governor, held firm, and the best policy for Pennsylvania prevailed.